Dancing and fighting, the best way to describe these two similar yet so different actions, is a combination of well-coordinated and agile movements of two or more people. The participants move with grace and purpose, with only one goal in mind. It's an exchange of moves with different intentions, yet the same beauty. Just as there are so many ways to fight, there are many different styles to dance. Though these are very clearly similar, they still carry their major differences that pull them apart from one another. So what would now happen if we were to fully combine the two? Take the graceful and spinning movements of a ballet dancer and combine them with a deadly and sharp blade. What do you get? A good boss fight, that's for sure. Just after Mibu village, after a sculptor's idol, there waits for you an enigmatic, though seemingly sad and sobbing woman playing the shamisen and carrying a basket on her head. You may choose to ignore her completely, but if you don't, and choose to talk to her instead, you find out that she's missing someone. She would say she'd miss her dear lord and did not know where he was, even after asking everybody in the village. She believes they are hiding him from her. Then she asks if you saw him, perhaps. Of course, the person she spoke about is still to this day unknown, so you have no other option but to say no. Surprisingly, she takes it very personal, and so the battle between the one-armed wolf and the shamisen player of the water would commence. Sweep attacks, endless combos. Constantly moving, the shamisen player dances around you. Just like her name, she is like water. She doesn't use thrust attacks, she does not knock you back with her strength, nor does she take you on from afar with projectiles. She stays close, attacking with fluid and graceful slices. Sometimes, to reposition and wind up for a combo, she becomes completely invulnerable. Your attacks go through her like water. I think you get my point here. So, I think we all know those bosses FromSoft throws at us. Giant, heavy-hitting, and full of shit. Literally. Sometimes we are met with stupid combos, wind-up attacks that take far too long to hit, seemingly unavoidable grab attacks, and one-hit attacks. These are usually bosses that are quite annoying to fight against, so what happens on that rare occasion when that doesn't happen? Sekiro is probably the best example of what happens when the developers lay off on the meth for a bit and switch over to some lighter tobacco. But please, do not get me wrong here, there still is a fair share of bullshit in this game, which by all means doesn't make it bad. It is actually one of my, if not my, favorite game of all. But among these brutal group fights and fights where you ask yourself what the hell you have to do, there are a few hidden gems like Orin of the Water. Personally, for me, she is my favorite mini-boss of all time. From her simple introduction to the beautiful way she fights, I think she is one of the prime examples what makes these fights so good. It is just that certain rhythm, that feeling that you're dancing and fighting. No bullshit, no tricks, just the clashing of two blades. These are the fights I personally look for, challenging but not annoying. The first time I fought her, I was completely destroyed, yet remained eager to try again. Every loss was my fault, and it never felt quite impossible. I didn't want to cheese the boss, I didn't want to use skills nor prosthetic tools. I wanted to deflect her attacks and counterattack. My only problem with the fight is that after a while she will become a bit boring. You will want more combos to learn and deflect, but sadly she still only remains a mini-boss till someone will make a mod and make her harder. To become a true shinobi, in Sekiro's eyes one must follow and obey the Iron Code. That is how he was raised by his foster father. And now, atop the Ashina castle, he stands in front of him once more. His mentor, his teacher, his father, thought to be dead, stands right in front of him, the great shinobi owl. And to prove your loyalty one more time to him, you are asked to follow his code and forsake your master or to disobey. Following the very first rule to the Iron Code, you obey with no questions asked. Though before the storm, a gentle breeze comes through the arena you fought Genichiro in. A wind that disturbs the flame of Shura momentarily. One that shall only result in the combustion of an entire land that will plague its people for centuries to come. Before you stands Emma, a physician, treating to Ishin at the castles of Ashina, now carrying a blade. Her one and only intent is to stop you. Owl leaves, and battle between a gentle maiden and the one-armed wolf commences. Trained by Ishin himself, she uses the Ashina fighting style with her own twist. Like the wind, she moves gracefully. Like the wind, she moves rhythmically across the arena. Like the wind, she strikes, lacking power, but never falling short on the deadliness of her assault. She thrusts, sweeps, slashes, and flies, keeping you on your toes while not backing down, giving you no time to breathe. Her movements are probably the closest ones to actual dancing moves, especially when she lifts you in the air and slams you down on the ground. So, I personally never had much interest in the Shura ending, as I didn't like killing Emma or Ishin here, so I only had done it for the video. So it was quite a wonder of how positively I was surprised by this fight. Emma had become from one of my least played bosses to one of my favorites actually. Once again, there's a certain rhythm to the fight. You're fighting, but also dancing. The smooth way she moves, only broken by you, stands out among the erratic movements of the guardian ape or the powerful and rigid swings of the armored warrior. Once again, the design of her fight is done very well, but of course, since she's only the first phase of a real final boss, she lacks some proper love from the developers in her fight. Despite that though, she's nothing far from amazing. And I'm not saying that because I'm a huge simp for Emma or something. No. No! The thing is, no attack she has is really unfair. Either you suck or just had it coming. My personal opinion would be that she deserves a second phase perhaps, or just a way to somehow make her and Ishin two separate bosses where you can rest in between. That way you could flesh her out a bit better. Or maybe you can explore a bit more the way she puts a gentle spin on some Ashina techniques. Or don't let it happen and let people like me suffer. Shimenawa. Twisted rice straw ropes that serve for the spiritual purification and are used as borders to sacred spaces and ward off evil spirits in the Shinto religion. A creature, a giant golem made of these carries Sekiro into the Fountainhead Palace, the place of the Okami and the divine dragon. It is covered with huge cherry blossom trees and flooded with water. But you won't be allowed to enter that easily, due to the entrance being guarded by one of the most fierce and powerful Okami warriors there are. Seemingly, from the heavens above, a large figure drops down onto the bridge. Slow and deliberate, she swings from side to side, hitting smoothly and powerfully. The swings seem so gentle yet powerful at the same time. Each time her blade clashes with yours, it feels like the bridge may collapse. Like your blade might break any moment. Like you won't survive even one hit from her. Fighting her, you feel like a bug as your posture and health get absolutely obliterated by her relentless attacks. She carries the grace and fluidity of Orin, the seemingly gentle yet deadly attacks of Emma, and ultimately, all combined with the sheer power of the beast scouring the lands of Ashina. Since this shall cover not only the true but also the fake corrupted monk, I'll just go out and say this. I really enjoyed the fake monk fight. Yes, I understand that people really hate how much health the monk has, but to me that just adds to the fun of it all. Her combos and attacks just feel mwah when perfectly deflected, especially when it's a giant combo finished off with a thrust attack. Using Sekiro on her feels genuinely addicting, providing more dopamine than the average YouTube Shorts interaction. The only real problem with her I might have is that one bullshit attack she pulls in a third phase in the true fight. The one where she pukes all over you. She usually does this when jumping off her head, which results in you getting hit by it, due to being unable to move mid-air and a lack of ability to block liquids. Other than that, it's fair game. I see so many ways to cheese the boss fight, but honestly, I only ever use the second phase skip on the true fight if I do cheese even, just like with the 2 fights before. So now tell me, what do all these fights have in common? Well, first of all, I'd like to clarify that this isn't a list of Sekiro characters I sim for. Well, not entirely, but all these fights are genuinely so good that you just want to beat them normally as a samurai, not as a shinobi. Fair and square, no cheese, no cheating. But these fights also show the beauty of what FromSoft can come up with. Of course, yes, there still are some not so fun fights in these games, but I actually think that these are the ones that make them so good. So imagine if everything was flawless, could one really enjoy it? When you have everything, you feel like you have nothing. Yujiro, a character from the anime Baki, describes something similar to this. He, as the strongest creature in the world, describes what it means to be at the top with nothing to aim for. I'd like to compare that with the flaws in these games. There are so many things people hate about FromSoft games, but yet still they remain at the top. And ultimately, these flaws make fights like these feel so much better in the end. Hey guys, your Fifi. I hope you enjoyed the video. Judging by the fact you are seeing this, you have, or you skipped ahead. Thank you first of all. I appreciate having you here, no matter who you are. And secondly, but also lastly, with that I bid you farewell. And in case you are in a different time zone than me, a wonderful good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.